Hello? Hello? Please, I know you can hear us. We are trapped here in the spaces between worlds. It is a wonderful yet terrifying place, and only our voices escape. You can help us. You can let us in before we go mad.
Don't Go Camping in Atwood by Todd Christensen. Back when it all went down, a lot of the locals and old-timers were saying, don't go camping in Atwood anymore. Superstitious bunch, I thought. I was disappointed in them. I really was. War veterans, farmers, ranchers, blue-collar, born and bred Montanans, scared out of the great outdoors by rumors of Bigfoot, cattle mutilations, aliens, skinwalkers, and a Native American curse placed upon our great land. I guess, to be fair, we'd had our share of missing people over them years, but only a couple of locals. One of 'em was my friend Shane's dad. Poor old Charlie went out hunting one fall and never made it home. Shane went out looking for him many times over the years, and I went with him on occasion, though less and less as time passed by. I figured a great outdoorsman like Charlie simply slipped, hit his head, and fell into the river. He probably got caught up in a deep whirlpool of sticks and logs and floated on downstream during the spring runoff and eventually ended up in the Guldarn Ocean. There's another possibility that I'll never speak to Shane as long as I live, though he knew the rumors. Old Charlie might have crawled into an old abandoned mine shaft that only he knew about and did himself in. Poor bugger was never the same after losing his wife and daughter. Anyways, at least Shane got a hell of a trophy whitetail buck out of the whole mess. You can look it up in Boone and Crockett if you care to, or go on up to Shane's house and see the big old brute's rack for yourself, mounted right above the stone fireplace. Boy, his pa sure would be proud. All that said, the majority of those who went missing were Turons, city folk with no business being out in the woods playing Lewis and Clark, Daniel Boone, or Davy Crockett. Take your pick. Sometimes we found their remains, and sometimes we didn't. Why? Who the hell knows? But I damn sure didn't believe it was aliens, Bigfoot, or anything else supernatural or otherworldly. So anyhow, me and my cousin Billy, along with our significant others, had packed up and, you guessed it, headed out camping. Our destination was a little spot along the river about an hour away, but only a few miles as the crow flies, out past Chimney Rock, the abandoned homestead that burned down probably 100 years ago. The only thing left standing was the rock chimney. How's that for irony? Including pulling out all our gear, pitching tents, gathering firewood and whatnot, we were done setting up camp in less than an hour. We had a finely tuned system, and by 9 o'clock in the a.m., Randy and I had cracked our first beers and gone down to the river to catch our breakfast. The river beneath the bank of our campsite flowed south, wide and slow. A monster of a beaver dam blocked a distributary branch as it tried to head west. In the backed-up water, fishing was epic, the lazily swirling pool filled with pike, smallmouth bass, and rainbow trout. The fish, along with an overabundance of game birds, rabbits, bullfrogs, and squirrels — damn did we grow squirrels big around Atwood — meant a guy barely had to break into the groceries to survive. Enough meat to have a veritable king's feast within a couple of hours. As long as the women folk remembered to pack pots, pans, butter, and seasonings, us men made sure we had chainsaws, axes, generator, guns, and gasoline. And, of course, copious amounts of alcohol. Hell, we could have lived out there forever. Well, at least until our gasoline and ammo ran out. And to be frank, there wasn't enough booze in all Montana to keep us away from town for very long. Randy set down his beer and happily threw out a cast. His lure no sooner hit water when something big, most likely a pike, struck hard. He set the hook and the fight was on. "Holy crap," he yelled. "Did you see the size of that fish?" "Hell yeah," I responded, dropping my pole and quickly realizing we'd forgotten the net. I beat-footed for camp, hollering at the top of my lungs, "Cindy! Billy! Grab the net! Randy's got a whopper!" My shouting was drowned out by the sound of trampling thunder and the girls' terrified screams. I saw a cloud of debris and the back of a large black animal sprinting across our campsite, upending our chairs, tables, and trampling right through the fire without slowing down. I reached camp just in time to see the girls jumping into the bed of Randy's pickup. The ass end of the black thing was nothing more than a dark shadow, disappearing into the trees in a plume of retreating dust. About that time, Randy's head poked up over the bank. He stormed towards us, throwing his hat and fishing pole down in disgust. "What the hell's going on up here?" he shouted, stopping to survey the scene. The girls were standing in the truck bed, comically hugging each other. I asked them if they were okay, and they both started blubbering about a bear. I gave them the once-over and decided they were all right. No blood or nothing anyways, before I answered Randy. "It was a damned cow. Don't know whether it was a bull or heifer. Bull, probably. Where's your fish?" Randy shot me a look to wither daisies. "I lost the damn fish. I couldn't concentrate with all the ruckus going on up here. You sure it was a cow?" I nodded solemnly, suddenly trying not to crack up. You gotta admit, it was pretty damned funny. "You mean I just lost the biggest fish I've ever tied into because of a frickin' cow?" Randy's righteous indignation, peppered with just the right amount of incredulity, sent me over the precipice and into the void of uncontrollable laughter. Well, I tell ya, Randy cursed me and the girls cursed me too as they climbed down out of the truck, my cousin still insisting it was a bear. "What do you know, Billy?" Randy replied hotly. "You ain't even wearing your glasses. You can't tell shit from shinola without your glasses." I took a knee, clutching my stomach with both hands, a gnat's ass hair away from an all-around rollabout in the dirt. Hell, if I cried any harder, I'd had a mud pit to waller in. Randy headed for his truck like a man on a mission, stopping briefly to check on the girls and give Billy a peck on the cheek. "Sorry I snapped at you, hon," he said before opening his truck door and grabbing his rifle from the gun rack in the back window. I recovered enough and asked, "Now what in the hell are you doing?" "I'm gonna make sure whatever the hell it is ain't gonna bother us no more. Which way did it go?" Hold on. I saw where it went," I said, wiping my eyes dry with my shirt sleeve. Going to my own truck, I retrieved my 44 mag revolver from under the seat and strapped it to my side. "I'm telling you, Randy, it was just some pissed-off bull. We can't shoot someone's bull." That last part should have went without saying, but you had to consider Randy's disposition when it came to matters such as we were dealing with. Randy had always been a bit of a loose cannon. Only in his early 20s he already had a reputation around town. He rarely started shit, but he sure could finish it. We'd been friends since diapers, and Randy treated me, Cindy, and especially my cousin Billy like gold. God help any man or beast that tried to harm her or anyone else he happened to like. "I ain't gonna shoot him. Just put the fear of God in him so he won't be back." Fair enough, I thought. As Randy followed me into the trees, the girls, still sniffling, set about putting our camp back in order. After a short hike, Randy and I came out in a clearing next to the road. Following the animal's destructive path through the woods had been easy enough. Randy quickly admitted I was right about it being a cow and all. Seeing the carnage of broken branches, trampled grass, and fresh hoofprints pressed into a mud hole had sealed the deal. That and a fresh spray of pungent-smelling cow manure. "Frickin' A, Paul. You ever hear tell of something like this?" "Nope," I said. "Can't say that I have. It's gotta be a pissed-off bull protecting the herd, right? We hadn't seen any cattle on our way in like we usually did, but we knew they were around somewhere. Old Rancher Bofus, not his real name, but everyone called him that on account of his cross eyes, always free-ranged a few dozen head down there on the river, and I just naturally assumed it was one of his bulls. The ornery old heifer, appearing out of nowhere some 50 yards in front of us, said otherwise. "Holy cow!" Randy exclaimed. "That's one big heifer. I see why you thought it was a bull." Seeing us, the old bitch snorted and tossed her head, eyes rolling, snot flying, stomping at the ground in defiance of our presence. Randy raised his rifle and took aim. "What are you doing?" I hissed. "I told you we can't shoot someone's cow." "I told you I ain't gonna shoot it. See that rock right next to her back legs?" Squinting my eyes, I saw the softball-sized rock, just as the report of Randy's .270 sounded. The rock shattered, peppering the heifer's legs and hindquarters with fragmented bits of hot stone, sending her into a panic gallop away from us and out of sight over a hill. Randy shouldered his rifle. A satisfied grin plastered across his face. "Well, that should take care of her. I don't know about you, Paul, but I sure could use a beer bout now." I couldn't argue with that. Funny how Randy always had a way of taking care of things. It only took us a few minutes to get back to camp, but the girls were all in a tither. Hearing the gunshot had gotten them all fired up again. "Calm down, women," Randy commanded. "We're okay. Paul was right, 'cept it wasn't a bull. Just an ornery old heifer. Must have a calf around here somewhere. Anyways, I'm pretty sure she won't be back." He looked at me and winked on the sly. Bad idea. Billy caught it and eyed him suspiciously before asking, "You didn't shoot her, did you?" Randy looked at her through squinty eyes. Up until that day, I'd never heard him utter a harsh word towards her. I sincerely hoped this wasn't the beginning of their first lover's quarrel and an awkward day of me and Cindy stuck in the middle. Then Randy smiled, that wide Cheshire smile of his, the same smile that made girls' knees go weak as roses bloomed on their cheeks. Randy was a gentle giant until you riled him, and he could have had any girl in town. But since grade school, he'd only had eyes for Billy. "Hell no, hun. I just put a dose of hot lead next to her feet. No harm done." He wisely failed to mention the exploding rock, and I wisely kept my mouth shut as Randy continued. "Looks like you girls got camp put back together. Better get that fire going again, 'cause me and Paul are gonna go catch us our breakfast. Hell, who knows? Maybe I'll get another go at that pike." Randy grabbed up his pole, and I grabbed out a sixer of beer, and we headed on down to the river with high expectations. This time, we remembered the net, though we wouldn't need it. For the first time ever, we didn't catch any fish out of our best hunting hole. Not one single bite, not one little nibble. As morning wore on, we threw every bait and lure we had at 'em, before traipsing up then down the river to a few of our other best spots. All our efforts led to the same result, which is to say, absolutely nothing. Finally, our empty beers and empty stomachs forced us to take the walk of shame back to camp and the girls. I tell you what, there ain't much more shame men can endure than failing to provide for their women. I mean, if we can't provide for them, why marry us and have kids? "Ah, screw it," Randy muttered as we trudged along. "We'll grab the .22s when we get back and shoot a few grouse or squirrels or something. Hell, even rabbit sounds pretty good about now." I stopped dead in my tracks, raising a hand to stop Randy as well. Something had been nagging on me, but I'd been so perplexed by the lack of fish, I hadn't put a finger on it until now. "What is it, Paul?" Randy asked. "Do you hear anything?" "No," replied Randy. "Just peace and quiet." "That's just it," I said. "It's too damned quiet." Realization struck Randy like a forger's hammer striking steel. "Shit, you're right, Paul. Come to think on it, I ain't heard a damn thing since that damn old heifer tore through camp. No birds or nothing, and the squirrels, they're always around chewing us out. And when I went to take a leak, I didn't spook out any grouse or pheasants or nothing. Yeah, me neither, I agreed. And them hawks and eagles are always around too. Haven't seen one today, though. And the frogs. Randy finished my sentence. Not a one seen or heard all morning. Place is a damned ghost town. You know, Paul, maybe we should pack up and head out. We better get back and check on the girls. I couldn't have agreed more. We were almost back when we heard music and raucous laughter coming from our camp. We stopped jogging, and Randy shot me a wiry grin as he shook his head in amusement. Well, I guess they're okay. At least somebody's having a good time. The girls looked up from their card game as we entered the perimeter. My truck doors were wide open, and George Strait was singing something about a lonely cowboy. There's our men, chirped Cindy. We were about to send out the troops. It's never taken you this long to bring home breakfast. You're too late. We need lunch now. Where's the fish? Randy and I scuffed our boots around uncomfortably in the dirt, neither of us making eye contact or willing to admit defeat. Instead, I asked, How long you been playing that radio without the truck running? You're going to kill the battery. Randy said, I see you girls have gotten into the Boone's farm already. We weren't mad or nothing, just trying to avoid the inevitable as long as possible. Billy looked at us and replied, If you boys can drink before noon, then so can us girls. And we've been running the truck once in a while, so we ain't going to kill your battery, Paul. Cindy piped up again, her gorgeous green eyes lit with amusement and half a bottle of wine. Oh, my gosh, Billy, they didn't catch any fish. Aha! You're right, Cindy. Our fearless men have failed to provide for their poor, starving women. How will they ever live this down? The girls broke into gales of girlish giggling as Randy and I threw down our poles and went for the beer cooler. Ha, 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 Randy retorted. What would we do without your support and razor-sharp wit? I'm sure we'd do just fine, I grumbled and cracked a beer. But we both knew that wasn't true. Our two gals had us wrapped around their little fingers, and they knew it. Randy flared his nostrils and took in a deep breath. You smell that, Paul? They already done cooked something and ate without us. Cindy was still giggling as she said, We got hungry. We figured you weren't having much luck when you were gone so long. Pan's over there and the coal's keeping warm. Indeed, a large cast-iron skillet sealed with a lid sat nestled in the embers. Hunger overtook our shame as Billy got up and handed us our plates and forks. Scrambled eggs with fresh onions and peppers from my mom's garden mixed in, along with 4 fat sausages from the elk me and Randy shot last fall. Better than some dumb old fish fillets anyway. Boy, our gals sure knew how to take care of us. Cindy and Billy returned to their card game while Randy and I retreated to the tailgate of his truck. Between hot mouthfuls of food and cold swigs of beer, we quietly discussed our strange predicament. I guess the girls haven't noticed yet, I said. Nope, Randy agreed. They've had that damn stereo blasting all morning and gotten to the wine early this trip. I nodded my head and said, Man, I was hoping that mad heifer would still be bothering them enough we could play our hand on that. But seems they've gotten over it. Yep, Randy chuckled. Good old liquid courage. They finished the rest of that bottle, and I pity the next cow comes along. They're liable to shoot first and ask questions later. Uh-huh, I said. They do tend to get a bit frisky when drinking. We finished eating and fell to silence as we lit our after-meal smokes, both of us thinking fiercely on the situation. We'd already had our man cards pulled when we'd returned from fishing empty-handed. Cindy and her big mouth hadn't helped. If we told the girls we were packing up and leaving because of a rogue heifer and lack of wildlife, well, the more we smoked and drank, the more preposterous it sounded. I finally broke the silence. Shit, Randy. If we back out now, we may as well put on some skirts and join a beauty pageant. Hell, Randy opined. If you can't beat 'em, join 'em. Ain't like there's any hunting or fishing to do, and we sure as hell can't beat our gals in a beauty pageant. So we went on and joined the girls in their card game. As day turned to night, the bicycle cards we were playing poker with were traded for the Uno deck, a lot less of a thinking game for us drunks. It was round about full dark when we abandoned our card games altogether and settled in around the campfire. The earlier day's events, so traumatic in our sobriety, seemed far removed in the fog of time and inebriation. Much to my chagrin, I let my truck battery run dead. No problem. We pulled Randy's truck closer, opened the doors, and let loose the next round of tunes. We weren't concerned in the slightest. We had a generator, battery charger, and jumper cables. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. We were prepared. Nothing could prepare us for what happened next. Cuddled up with our sweethearts next to the freshly stoked flames, we were reminiscing back 3 years ago, talking about the big homecoming football game against our biggest rivals, the Runnin' Buffaloes from right next door on the res. We'd won on the last play of the game, on a perfect spiral 30-yard touchdown pass from Randy to yours truly. Our gals had been on the sidelines in their cheerleader outfits, cheering us on to victory. Later that same evening, Randy and Billy were crowned homecoming king and queen. Me and Cindy were a year behind them in school, and the next year was our turn to stand crowned, though we had lost the game. I was drunkenly explaining to Randy for the umpteenth time exactly why we had lost when Cindy interrupted. Look at that light in the sky. It's moving. We lifted our heads to the heavens, and after a second Randy scoffed. It's a satellite. Now please, Polly was just getting deep into the BS. I swear, Randy loved to rib me over that damned game, especially when he was tuned up. As long as we lived and drank, I knew he'd never let it go. Cindy wasn't letting go either. No, look, satellites move across the sky. This is coming towards us. Billy suddenly let out a winded-sounding screech. All the air seemed to have left her lungs as she squeaked. Shit, she's right, guys. Randy's stereo abruptly shut off, and a loud crack followed by another sounded in the nearby trees. The sound of dead fall branches snapping like twigs was deafening in the silence. Billy might have lost her ear, but Cindy was just getting pumped up. Look, she screamed, pointing up. I think she was in shock. When I looked from the trees to the sky again, I knew why. A smooth, silver disc, easily the diameter of the football fields Randy and I played on back in our glory days, hovered silently a mere 50 feet above us. A large rectangle on the bottom curvature of the ship dematerialized, and my mind shattered into fragments of madness, invading the depths of childhood memories. I saw beings behind that otherworldly windshield, 6 short silhouettes with oversized balloon-shaped heads, illuminated by the glowing white light emanating from within the craft's interior. Ha, ha, ha! Let's count them. 1 little alien, 2 little aliens, 3 little aliens, ha, ha! 4 little, 5 little, 6 little aliens, all in a row. My brain was littered with insanity as the sound of bawling cattle erupted and a warm mass of cows pushed in around us in fevered panic. They formed together in a tight-knit bunch and began trudging in a counter-clockwise circle. Round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. Over the backs of shit-caked bovine hides, I saw Randy grab Billy and regained a bit of lost sanity. Time to man up and take care of the women folk. We take care of our own here in Atwood. Polly! Randy shouted over the chaos. I got Billy. Do you got Cindy? I didn't have time to reply. 3 bright green orbs of light shot down from the center of the craft, spreading out as they hurtled towards Earth, creating a wide triangular barrier around us and the herd. The ship hovered at the top of the apex, and we found ourselves basked in a green haze of energy. I see the bad moon arising. I see trouble on the way. Up, up, and away. To the moon, Alice. Have you ever seen an elephant fly? No, but I'll raise you one ornery old heifer. Our unwanted camp-storming guest from earlier was levitating above the herd, frozen in time as she continued floating up towards a hatch opening on the bottom of the ship. We all float down here, Georgie. Random cows began to rise a few feet before dropping back to the earth, like carousel horses with none of the fine sculpting and wondrous paint jobs, bobbing up and down as they continued traveling in their circle of mindless insanity. I reflexively tightened my grip on Cindy's arm. If we survived this, she was going to have one hell of a bruise. She was too hysterical to notice, and I didn't loosen my hold. As I tried to push us through the rising, falling, relentlessly marching cows, I realized our feet had left the ground. The backs of cattle brushed against our boots, and then we were free of the herd. I craned my head skyward, right before being paralyzed. Cindy's constant screaming cut short, and I knew the same had happened to her. In a dreamlike trance, I saw Randy and Billy, floating hand in hand, halfway between us and the ornery old heifer being swallowed by the light. "Do you fellas want fries with that burger?" Next, it was Randy and Billy's turn to disappear into the ship. As me and Cindy neared the opening, I wished to God I hadn't looked up. The white light was ruthless, and I couldn't close my eyes against it. My eyeballs felt like they were boiling in their sockets, and I prayed I was the only one of us experiencing such agony. Then we, too, were absorbed into the light, and I felt no more. I woke up in the dirt and the rising sun's warmth with the worst hangover of my life. My head pounded and I groaned as I staggered to my feet. I heard groans other than my own and looked around to see Cindy, Billy, and Randy also struggling up from the ground, zombies rising from their graves. My vision was spotty and I blinked repeatedly but couldn't quite clear it. I saw enough, though. Our camp looked like a tornado had ripped through it, shit trampled and strewn every which way. The cattle that had caused the damn mess were gone, except one. I felt my gorge rise when I saw that damned old ornery heifer next to our ruined campfire. She wouldn't be storming through camp no more, not ours or anyone else's for that matter. She was deader'n a doornail. Laying on her side, her eyes and ears were gone, looking like they'd been removed by some mighty sharp knife. Someone or something had also used it to cut out her anus and remove her udder. Looking at her made the madness in my brain rush back, and I looked away to stop it. How utterly ridiculous. Randy was the first to speak. "What in the hell happened? I feel like I've been hit by a train." He was wobbly on his feet, like a prize fighter who just had his bell rang with a well-placed uppercut. Billy was on her hands and knees puking up Boone's farm. Cindy was sitting silently on her ass, tears carving mud trails down her cheeks. I went and knelt down in front of her, cooing encouraging words as if she were some kind of wounded animal I was trying to comfort. Hell, I guess she was. We all were. She finally looked at me. I still wasn't seeing so good, but I knew right then and there that she was never going to be the same. Something had broken inside of her, way down deep where it couldn't be fixed. Somehow or another, we managed to get the trucks running and head on out, each of us suffering in our own private state of shock. None of us remembered much of what happened. Remembering would come later as the days, weeks, and then years passed by. For me, the memories came back in short bursts of flashbacks and the constant nightmares. I'm sure we all suffered from PTSD, hair loss, and migraines. I imagine that through it all, each of us put together our own fragmented memories, each holding different sections of the same puzzle, but we never put them together to form a complete picture. Sometimes a shared traumatic event pulls people closer. I wish I could tell you that was the case with us. Wish in one hand and shit in the other and see which gets filled first. We all went our separate ways after that day. It ain't easy in a small town like Atwood, but we managed by keeping our mouths shut, not a mumbling word to each other or anyone else in town. I can't speak for the others, but I don't think any of us wanted to end up a guest at the funny farm. A backward-facing coat and a rubber room ain't my idea of a good time. Besides, white's not my color, especially after Labor Day, and I'm plumb certain they don't give a rat's ass about Labor Day in the funny farm. After all, every day is a permanent vacation. Come to think on it, maybe we all would have been better off in the loony bin. Randy became the town drunk and all-around rebel-rouser, spending more time in jail than out. Seems his give-a-damn was busted. Finally he put a large caliber pistol in his mouth and, well, like I said, Randy always had a way of taking care of things. I don't think any of us went to his funeral, if he even had one. I got drunk and cried, though, after hearing the news. Bawled my damn scarred eyes out like some big blubbering baby alone in a dark room. I cried for Randy and Cindy and Billy, for myself and everything we lost that day. Cindy, my beautiful girl with gorgeous green eyes. I still remember looking into them the first time we made love. It was in our tent while camping out past Chimney Rock. She became the town recluse, the crazy, hoarding old cat lady well before she even got old. Poor Cindy. She's got a small house on her parents' property, filled with garbage and smells of cat piss. At least that's what I hear around town. Her parents do the best they can to take care of her, but her dad is crippled up from a logging accident, and I hear her mother's got Alzheimer's. They always blame me for what happened to her, and I blame myself too. I wish I could bring myself to go see her, but you remember what I said about wishes. I guess me and my cousin Billy fared the best. I often wonder why that is as I lay awake during the many sleepless nights. Is it because Randy and Cindy are the only two that remembered what happened to us in that ship? I believe so. A truth so damned horrible that it broke Cindy's mind and ultimately did Randy in. I've remembered everything up until we got pulled into that damned ship. I just told you the story, didn't I? I'll tell you something else. I am terrified that my nightmares will bring back those missing memories, and I'll end up like Cindy or Randy, the straw that broke the camel's back. I wonder if Billy lays awake every night like I do. I bet you my bottom dollar she does. She's a waitress at the local cafe, and I actually see her a few times a week, when I go in for my morning cup of coffee. We don't talk more than the occasional guarded hello. Mostly our interaction is a simple nod of recognition from across the room. She lets the other waitress serve me, and I'm glad of that. Well then, I guess that just leaves me, the crazy town maintenance man. You can see me driving around Atwood in the rusty old city work truck, watering the flower pots lining Main Street or mowing the town park grass. My vision mostly came back, but like my memory, there are dark spots. I can see around them, but constantly have to shift my eyeballs from side to side while cocking my head around like some inquisitive raven. People don't call me Paul or Polly anymore, though I guess only Randy ever called me Polly, and only when drunk. No, instead people around here just call me Old Shifty Eyes, or just plain Shifty for short. Sometimes I go down to the Fallen Tree Saloon and get good and drunk, and when I do, I be sure to tell everyone I see, don't go camping in Atwood anymore.